It's so powerful to see how my mom handled this situation. She's amazing, you know, and she's really, really strong.
How often do residential kidnappings happen here?
Very rare.
Yeah, not very often at all. Schanda Handley is at her home with her daughter, Isabella. Her friend came over just to come and visit with her.
We talked for about 5 or 10 minutes, and the doorbell rang. And so I went to the door, and it's these two men.
These two individuals essentially present themselves to be delivery men of some sort. Schanda sees them, says, look, I have a friend over, now's not a good time. When she goes to close the door on them, they force themselves in with guns.
They started to scream, to get the F on the floor, and don't move. They handcuffed me in front like this.
I was just stunned. I saw that my mom and her friend were handcuffed.
I said, I have valuables, I have jewelry, I have cash, I have precious metals, I can get you money. Didn't interest them at all.
I said, come with me, and she went, and then they came back and asked me, and I said no, and they just accepted that and left.
They put her in the van.
I'm hooded. They hooded me as soon as I went into the van. It was a van that didn't have the windows in the back, and it was just a rubber mat without seats back there, and laid me on the floor.
And then they leave. These guys are heading out of town with Schanda Handley in the back of that van.
One of the guys sat on top of me, you know, so he stayed screaming at me. He hit the gun to my head. I was trying to pay attention to where we were. I could feel when we picked up speed that we had made a turn. I was like, oh no, my heart sunk. I was like, we're on an interstate or something. And the guy stripped me. They threatened to assault me sexually. He put a pill in my mouth, and he gave me another. I said, what are you giving me? And he said, don't worry about that. And so I guess I started to maybe drift a little, and I started praying.
So this particular day, I got out of work. As I was traveling, there was a wreck on the interstate. I got stopped behind a white van. I could kind of see the driver of the van was starting to get nervous in the mirror. He was looking at me. He decided to get into the shoulder and speed off. It didn't sit right with me, so I got in behind him. I put my emergency lights, sirens on.
Then I hear sirens, and I was like, yeah, okay, thank you, God.
This is where the vehicle exited. It's a dead end onto a dirt road, which had been mud because it just rained. Their van got stuck. That's when they exited the vehicle and kept running.
The siren stopped, and I just sunk again. And I was like, what happened? Did I imagine the sirens? What's going on? And I'm full of anxiety.
When you approach the van, you've got your gun drawn?
Yes, sir. I opened the rear door of the van, and in the van, what I thought was a mannequin moved. It scared me, startled me, so I jumped back and I shut the door. I said, oh my God, things aren't always what they seem.
I didn't know what was going on with my mom. There was no one really telling me what was happening.
Police say the woman was forcefully removed from her home in Lafayette.
With her childhood home now a crime scene, and her mother, Schanda Handley, just abducted by armed intruders, Isabella Cumberland found herself confused amidst a crowd of investigators and forensic analysts.
They wanted to go over the fingerprints on the doors, upstairs, my phone, and it just kind of felt like I was another piece of evidence.
Isabella, then just 14 years old, was trying to process the sight of the violent kidnapping she had just witnessed at her family's home in Lafayette, Louisiana on August 6th, 2017.
As they're driving away with her, did you think that was the last time you'd ever see her?
I thought there was a chance.
Lafayette investigators and Isabella had no idea that about an hour after the kidnapping, just across the state near Baton Rouge, Chad Martin, an Iberville Parish Sheriff's deputy, had just pulled over a suspicious white van after a brief pursuit. There were 2 men inside.
When they pulled into this parking spot, they got stuck in the mud. So the men jump out and they take off running. And right behind us is the Intercoastal Waterway. They jump in and disappear.
And when Martin went to clear that vehicle, he discovered Schanda Handley, handcuffed and naked in the back.
She looked at me, and I'll never forget this. She said, "Are you the real police, or are you the one that's gonna kill me?"
And he was like, "You're safe. You're safe."
Just minutes before, Martin was rushing home for Sunday dinner in his squad car after clocking out, unaware of Shanda's kidnapping nearly 60 miles away. His biggest worry at that time was his wife's wrath.
I heard you were habitually late for dinners.
I had a tendency to be late for everything.
Now, he had unwittingly made the rescue of a lifetime.
What's going through your head? I mean, you were just trying to pull over a couple of guys who looked a little suspicious.
I can't really tell you what was going through my head. Almost like I went into robot mode, and I was just trying to get this woman help.
Schanda told him a harrowing story that the kidnappers had drugged her and threatened to rape her and kill her.
If not for Chad Martin.
Oh, I would be dead. I can't even imagine, but I know it wasn't going to be quick and swift.
Martin relayed the news of Shanda's rescue to dispatch, and it soon reached Isabella.
Whenever they told me that she was safe, I felt this relief.
Law enforcement began to ask questions. Who were Shanda's kidnappers? And why did they abduct her? But for Schanda, there was no mystery who was behind it.
She had said that she believed that her husband is the one that had paid them to kill her.
Her estranged husband, Michael Handley. Schanda says that before the difficult months leading up to the kidnapping, Michael would have been the last person she could have imagined would harm her. They had met in 2005 through friends in Lafayette, at a time when both were single parents and emerging from failed marriages.
He was really catering and just sweet and compassionate.
Another thing they had in common? Both were in recovery for addiction.
At that time, I had been sober for about 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Michael was newly clean and sober. He had about a year.
The new couple hit it off, and a year later they were married in Hawaii. Isabella took an immediate liking to Michael.
He, was my dad from when I was 2 years old. And so that's how I saw him, was really as my dad.
In 2007, Michael and Schanda found success, channeling their experience in recovery into a new business.
We're going to provide care and we're going to meet you where you are.
Partnering with a doctor to start a chain of addiction treatment centers.
So we wound up opening, at one point, I think there were 14 centers throughout the South.
8 years later, they made a decision.
We sold the company.
How much did y'all make on the sale?
The two of them, Michael and his partner, we sold the company for $21.5 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
But their life as happy millionaires didn't last long, say prosecutors Donald Connett and Kenny Hebert.
You know, money and free time with someone with an addictive personality isn't a great combination.
Schanda was seeing that firsthand with Michael in 2017, less than 2 years after the sale of their company, when she found a bottle of Adderall with Michael Handley's name on it.
So what we believed at our treatment center was that use of something like that amphetamine could open the doors to a world of trouble. So when I found the bottle, it terrified me. And I can remember telling him, this could lead to death. This could lead to something devastating.
And soon things got even worse when Schanda discovered that Michael was seeing another woman.
He was having an affair. And all I could think was like, I don't even know who this man is.
Schanda issued an ultimatum. Michael had to go into treatment. But when he refused to get help, she made a difficult decision.
I changed the locks, and Michael was locked out of the house, and he started to lose his mind at that point. And so after a couple of weeks, he said, "You're gonna regret this." And then that turned into, "I'm telling you, it's gonna get bad."
The Handleys' life together was falling apart fast. Michael accused Schanda of assaulting him. She was charged, but later acquitted by a judge. All while Schanda was begging the authorities to see that she was the one in danger.
If Michael wasn't apprehended, he was going to kill me.
As Schanda Handley was recovering in the hospital, investigators were learning the details of her tumultuous past with Michael Handley. They knew they had to find him and the kidnappers fast. They started scouring the last place her abductors had been seen, this canal.
There's a fisherman, and he reported these two individuals waiting by him in the water, and one of them pointed a gun at him and said, "Be cool."
But as the kidnappers had been swimming towards freedom, the canal's unforgiving current had other plans.
Behind me at the Intracoastal Canal is where two bodies were found yesterday.
They found them floating in the Intracoastal Canal, drowned.
Dead?
Dead.
They were later identified as Sylvester Bracey and Arsenio Haynes.
What did you think when you found out they were dead?
I thought, I'm not gonna have to worry about them hurting me, as sad as that is.
While investigators suspected Michael Handley was responsible for the abduction, proving it might have been difficult with their main witnesses, the kidnappers, dead. But Handley, it seemed, had made it kind of easy for them.
Detectives are running the VIN number on the white van. That VIN number leads them to an Enterprise dealership in Baton Rouge. I said, well, a few days ago, an individual named Lawrence Michael Handley came in and rented the van. And then, a couple days before that, he went to Barney's Police Depot, which is a store that carries specifically police-issue merchandise.
Handley was seen on store surveillance cameras as he pulls up and purchases handcuffs. Finding evidence allegedly connecting Handley to the kidnapping wasn't difficult, but finding him turned out to be the challenge.
I'm asking if Michael's been apprehended, and they said no. And so they said, we need to lay low for a little while.
With a fortune at his fingertips, investigators feared he could be anywhere and a danger to Schanda once she was released from the hospital. So they came up with a plan of action.
We decided on a safe house outside of Lafayette.
Sid Hebert, a former Louisiana sheriff, was part of the security detail watching Schanda 24/7.
We had a Lafayette sheriff's deputy in a marked unit on premises. No visitors, no package deliveries, nothing, until further notice.
Even in hiding, Schanda was feeling relief that Michael was finally being recognized as a threat after living in constant fear prior to the kidnapping.
The terror that I was in for those 3 months, the kidnapping was nothing in comparison. Kidnapping was a blessing.
What?
The kidnapping is what allowed me to get to a place where people were willing to support me.
In the beginning, how many people believed Schanda?
Not many.
But Schanda had found a fierce ally in Christine Meir, her divorce attorney. Christine knew all too well what Schanda had experienced.
The most dangerous case I have ever heard about, let alone been a part of.
What made it so dangerous?
Michael Handley. He was constantly stalking her, telling her that he knew where she was, threatening her daughter with harm.
Schanda called the police several times, but felt she wasn't taken seriously. Christine helped Schanda secure a restraining order, but says Michael found creative ways to make it effectively worthless.
He disguised his voice. He also used an app that picked up dummy numbers that he used to contact her. So there was no proof that it was him that was actually violating the protective order.
And he seemed to be tracking Shanda's every move.
He was able to spy on her through her own laptop computers, her alarm system. He compromised all of that. Nothing was out of bounds.
Michael's behavior was growing increasingly erratic, even though he was the one to initially file for divorce in the spring of 2017. He soon changed his mind, and Schanda says now he was demanding they reconcile, or she'd pay a humiliating price.
He says, some of our private videos are going to go out to people in the community.
Intimate videos?
Intimate videos.
Schanda struggled over this, but knew she couldn't take him back.
So videos went out to hundreds of people in the community. My cousins, uncles, administration at the school, political friends, neighbors. I sat and cried and was sick to my stomach. I almost didn't stand up.
Just when Schanda thought she couldn't take any more, on June 8th, 2017, almost 2 months to the day before the kidnapping, Michael Handley slipped into her house through the garage.
He was enraged. He reeked of alcohol. He was furious. And he had me pinned up against the wall. And I screamed, "Isabella!" Well, he put his hand over my mouth and he pulled out a gun, a 9mm.
A gun?
He pulls out a handgun and he said, "If you scream or anybody comes to interfere, I will shoot you both. I will kill you both. Do you understand me?"
Schanda says that after hours saying anything she could think of to calm him down, she finally convinced Michael to leave.
As soon as he walked out of that gate, I ran in the house, bolted the door, and I started screaming and crying. When Michael left that day after he had attacked me, I was 100% positive he was going to kill me.
Police were called once again, but they didn't arrest Michael Handley.
I can see in your eyes that you're getting emotional.
Oh, I felt as though I was being told that I was lying and that I was making it up.
This is why women don't report abuse, because they fear they will not be believed.
How many times had Schanda filed a report against Michael?
I believe that the actual reports filed were a couple dozen, if not more. As far as how many times was there an arrest made, there wasn't.
Why?
A lot of times he was out of state. Sometimes the investigators felt like they didn't have enough evidence to actually go forward and get a warrant for the arrest.
After the kidnapping, investigators were confident that this time they had more than enough evidence to make an arrest. But could they find him in time?
So somehow, Michael is able to track Schanda down to the place that she's seeking refuge.
Does Michael Handley know that the cops are onto him?
Yes, because at some point he tried to charter a private plane, and so the pilot essentially said, "I am not going to be taking you anywhere because you're a wanted man."
The pilot reported it to police, but Michael was long gone. And as he continued to evade authorities, Schanda got a text message from a strange number claiming that Michael had also been kidnapped, saying in part, "Pay the ransom for your husband and pay us 500 large or we will send him home in pieces." A day later, friends received a shocking photo of Michael. He was nude, handcuffed, and seemingly injured.
And he's got blood on it.
Right.
It appeared to be from Shanda's kidnappers, but investigators knew that couldn't be true.
We know that obviously wasn't from them because they're dead at this point. So Michael is behind these messages.
On August 11th, 2017, after a 4-day manhunt, detectives finally cornered the multimillionaire. Once accustomed to private jets and 5-star hotels, he was in this off-ramp motel in Slidell, Louisiana.
We begin with new information on the arrest of a Lafayette kidnapping suspect.
As they took an oddly smiling Michael Handley into custody, investigators began sifting through the nearly $10,000 in cash, pizza boxes, and illicit drugs, finding this to-do list. On it were things like burner phone, hair dye, cash. But its final task was even more ominous, says prosecutor Kenny Hebert, since Shanda's safe house was just 35 miles away.
But on the bottom of that list were the words, "Finish the job."
And finish the job would mean?
In our opinion, he was going to kill her.
With Michael Handley now in jail, Schanda and her security team decided it was finally safe for her to come out of hiding.
It was time to go home. And that's what she said, I just want to go home and rebuild my life.
But with his track record of evading justice, Isabella was skeptical that the worst was behind them.
I remember thinking that it was almost pointless that he was being arrested. It felt like he had all the power and he was going to keep all the power.
Michael Handley pleaded not guilty to a litany of charges, including conspiracy to commit second-degree murder. And prosecutors got to work building their case against him.
Anytime you're on our side of the table, you start thinking, what's the defense going to be? We could not figure out what his defense was going to be.
There was no question that she was a victim of a kidnapping.
But, says Kevin Stockstill, the man who Michael Handley hired to defend him, the physical evidence doesn't prove his client played a part in any of it.
Were the van and the handcuffs enough to convict him?
I don't think so.
That is because, Stockstill says, there is an explanation for everything. It started when Michael hired Sylvester Bracey, not to kidnap his wife, but instead, he claims, to move some furniture. That was the reason Michael rented the van, he says, and made no effort to hide it.
Mr. Handley, goes into the Enterprise rent-a-car location with his credit card in one hand and driver's license in the other.
So you thought you could explain to the jury, hey, listen, nobody who's actually going to commit this crime is going to go in with their license and ID and buy it themselves.
Correct.
It was all innocent enough, Stockstill says, until the would-be mover went rogue. Stockstill theorizes Sylvester Bracey saw Michael's desperation to get his wife back and decided to use it to his advantage. That's when he enlisted Arsenio Haynes to help him kidnap Schanda and hold her for ransom.
So you're thinking the kidnappers could have wanted to extort Michael to get money from him, so they would have kidnapped his wife?
Potentially.
And of course, he did buy the handcuffs, but Stockstill says he only used them to stage that fake kidnapping photo.
So, as he's bound and gagged, he's bound with handcuffs.
It was just the latest example, according to Stockstill, of photos and videos that Michael had been sending to Schanda for months, showing him in emotional distress, and in one case, apparently beaten up, in a misguided attempt to try and win her back.
I love you.
Because Michael had a proclivity to try and stage these things to get, sympathy from Schanda.
But as the defense prepared to argue that the kidnappers acted on their own, Schanda Handley made a damning discovery while cleaning out a remote Mississippi property they owned.
Schanda starts getting some of her personal belongings. Well, one of the things that they found was this camera.
It was a type of camera called Arlo, and Michael Handley used it for security.
When Arlo detects sound and video, Arlo starts recording.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it turns out he accidentally turned the camera on himself.
All put together, what did the camera record?
I mean, hundreds of hours. Hundreds of hours.
One of the first videos is from 2 months before the kidnapping. Michael is by himself in a hotel room and is apparently talking to himself.
You see him moving around, and at some point he picks the camera up and he puts it in a bag. And you hear him say the words, "I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna kill her."
Kill her. Kill her.
Prosecutors believe the her he intended to kill was Schanda, and that Michael was even more explicit just days later in a conversation with a friend in the living room of the Mississippi house.
They're having beers and they're discussing the issues that he's having with Schanda.
Pretty stubborn, the other one was just going to surrender together. That's what's going on. Right. Yeah, she's not going to, and you're not going to.
The friend later said he didn't recall hearing what Michael said next.
That's why she'll die.
Michael says, that's why she's going to have to die. Just so matter of fact.
In yet another clip from just 2 weeks before the kidnapping, Michael Handley is caught with Sylvester Bracey at that property, planning how it was the perfect place, prosecutors say, to bring Schanda to torture her, and possibly worse.
He specifically says, it's almost impossible for anyone to get in here. To which Bracey responds, and it'll be impossible for her to get out.
I see it. She can't break it. I see anywhere to out.
I mean, did you think you had a rock-solid case before that?
Yes.
Well, what'd you think after it?
I thought I must have done something right in the world.
Then, in a move no one saw coming,
I swear to God to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Michael Handley agreed to tell his side of things. While awaiting trial for the kidnapping of his estranged wife, Schanda, Michael Handley was held in the Lafayette Parish Correctional Center. But Schanda says even though Michael was behind bars, he continued to harass her.
I've received a lot of mail, letters, while he's been incarcerated. I got numerous calls.
Can't they stop him from calling you?
I guess not.
On top of that, Schanda lived in fear that Michael just might get out. That's because at one point, the defense argued that Michael was suffering from mental illness and was not guilty by reason of insanity.
When Michael was sober, he was a fantastic individual, very talented, willing to help people. When he was found at the hotel in Slidell, I mean, there were drugs there. There's no question that he was using again. I don't know the level of his responsibility, but I think it's a combination of substance abuse and some mental illness.
For prosecutor Kenny Hebert, however, it was a desperate attempt to get Michael released.
They did it so that they could get some psychological professionals on the stand to say he needs to be out of jail and he needs to go to these mental health facilities. Well, we're talking about mental health facilities that don't have nearly the security that a jail has.
Michael's defense team submitted mental health records showing that he suffered from bipolar disorder, complicated by drug addiction, which they say rendered him legally insane during the time leading up to the kidnapping. 2 court-appointed doctors agreed, but the judge ruled that Michael was competent to stand trial and must remain behind bars.
Once they initially failed to get him out, they withdrew that plea.
And what did they change it to?
They just changed it to regular not guilty.
While Michael Handley's criminal battle was heating up, in March 2018, his divorce from Schanda became finalized. Schanda was awarded all of the assets. There was only one problem.
There is no money. There's no money. Millions of dollars vanished.
Michael was a very eccentric person. He was obsessed with the collapse of the American dollar. So much of their money was in gold bars.
Schanda said she had seen gold before and knew that there was gold somewhere on that property. I believe people actually went out with metal detectors to try to figure out if he stashed it somewhere. No gold was ever recovered. So there's all of this money that's unaccounted for, but we know It's got to be out there somewhere.
On top of being left with nothing, Schanda says she suddenly found herself responsible for repaying her now ex-husband's massive debts.
How much of a hole did he leave you in?
$750,000. I can't comprehend how I'm now in a position where I owe this sort of money.
Schanda felt like it was a slap in the face after enduring so much. But it wasn't all for naught. During the settlement negotiations, Shanda's divorce attorney, Christine Meir, had subpoenaed Michael for a deposition. And surprisingly, he agreed.
I mean, that's wild.
It is.
I can imagine that someone with the arrogance that Michael Handley had insisted that he was going to be testifying and it was going to be fine because he is the smartest person in the room.
Shanda's divorce attorney and the prosecutors had agreed to cooperate with each other. And everyone was interested in hearing what Michael Handley had to say.
It was a risk.
Because he might go into that deposition and say stuff that really jeopardizes his criminal case.
I've never been more nervous in a deposition than that one.
Are you sure you can please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth?
Dressed in a striped prison uniform, Michael answered questions for 10 hours over 3 days.
I was hanging on every question.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
It was a chaotic and hectic time. I was living out of hotels. I'd been moving from hotel to hotel for several months.
Michael was asked about his relationship with Sylvester Bracey and the reason he rented that van.
I had hired him to move furniture. I rented the van to make a move, to move the furniture.
He stuck with his original story.
He said that he had hired movers in order to move furniture, and they went rogue because they thought he had money.
I got a phone call. As soon as I answered the phone, I said, hello. They screamed, we've got your wife. And I just remember because it was like I got punched in the gut. It's like one of those moments when you go into a top reel.
But when pressed about the details of how he first met Bracey,
I don't recall.
Michael claimed he couldn't remember much about the weeks leading up to the kidnapping.
I don't remember. I don't know. I don't recall. That's why I'm hesitating. I don't remember. I don't recall. I don't recall. I don't recall. There are big gaps in my memory. I don't know. I don't know. The reason that I don't recall is because I was high. I was living like a rock star. I was on and off medications during this period of time, and I was under the influence of substances. Mental illness is tough, you know?
But he insisted. Despite the gaps in memory, there was one thing he knew for certain.
I would not kidnap my wife.
He would cry and say that he loved her so much.
I don't remember.
That he was so sorry. It was that type of manipulation.
I have tremendous regret.
During the deposition, Christine pulled that Arlo camera recording in which prosecutors believe Bracey and Handley were caught talking about the plot to kidnap Schanda, the wife Handley claimed he loved so much.
I queued up where one of the kidnappers was telling Michael, and you know, if she gets out of line, I won't hesitate to kill her. And I said, what kind of movers tell that to you? And his fear was palpable, and he said, oh, I don't know, Christine. People tell me all sorts of things.
Michael Handley withered under questioning, poking holes in his own defense with his own words.
The civil attorneys provided us with those deposition transcripts shortly after receiving them.
And with the trial date fast approaching, Michael's defense attorney feared the worst.
We were of the opinion that he ran a significant risk of a conviction.
With the walls closing in, and hours before the trial was set to start, Michael Handley indicated he was open to a deal.
He would plead, to second-degree kidnapping. The minimum sentence would be 15 years. The maximum sentence would be 35 years.
Prosecutors Donnie Connett and Kenny Hebert say there was a lot to take into consideration.
The problem with a jury trial is you almost never know.
But I also knew that there's Schanda Handley, there's Isabella. You've got victims that have to relive that moment if you go to trial.
Ultimately, the decision to take the deal or go to trial was Shanda's.
I was so scared that if we went to trial, that it could work out beautifully for him, because Michael always lands on his feet. Once Michael's out, I'm no longer free.
In July 2021, all Schanda Handley wanted was for her ex-husband, Michael Handley, to stay behind bars. So she agreed to accept his plea of guilty to second-degree kidnapping.
I didn't want to take any risks. I would rather the plea deal than to take the chance and go to trial.
Less than a year later, on March 24, 2022, Schanda was in the courtroom to find out what Michael's sentence would be. Isabella was there too, as was Michael.
What was it like to come face to face with him in court?
It was so surreal, you know? And I think, honestly, for both of us, it was this really strong, powerful emotion that we both felt, but mine was hatred.
Hoping to help convince the judge to give Michael the maximum sentence, Isabella chose to give a victim impact statement.
What did you say at the hearing?
I really kind of told a story about how difficult it really made my life and how difficult it still makes my life, because I didn't think he knew that it affected me as well as it affected her.
Schanda also had something she wanted to say to Michael.
I told him that he wrecked everything and that he destroyed everything, and that how could you, like, we had a good life. We had a good family, and we adored each other. He was the person I most admired in this world until then.
Do you think Michael understands his actions have had an effect on his former wife and stepchild?
I think that he does.
You get the sense the guy's sorry?
I think so. I think he's capable of remorse.
Yet when it was Michael's turn to speak, instead of a tearful apology, he gave yet another new story. This time he admitted he did, in fact, hire the two men to kidnap Schanda. But he claimed it was all fake and staged so that he could swoop in, save her, and be the hero.
What he really wanted to do was emerge as the white knight who came in and rescued her. It was a way for him to try to win her back, but he never really intended to hurt her. It was all a big game.
In the end, the judge sided with the prosecution and gave Michael Handley the maximum penalty.
A Lafayette man was sentenced today in the 2017 kidnapping case of his estranged wife. Lawrence Michael Handley received 35 years in prison for the crime.
35 years. -5 for time served. Puts him out when he's 79.
79. Are you okay with that?
I'd rather he never get out.
Are you still afraid even with him behind bars?
Oh, yeah.
That concern is something Isabella shares.
Do you fear for your safety from Michael Handley?
Yeah, I do. Nothing could stop him. I just see him as a villain, not a good person, and I'm not sad about it. In my mind, he's changed to a completely different person, so it doesn't feel like I've lost my dad. It feels like I've lost a stranger.
The now 20-year-old college junior chooses to focus on the valuable lesson that she learned from her mother.
It's so powerful to see how my mom handled this situation. She's shown me how she can overcome something so horrible and turn it into something great and become an even better person out of it.
Welcome to our house. I'm glad that you're here.
Schanda has found renewed purpose working with others like her. She sold property, took out a loan, and opened 2 sober living homes dedicated to helping women get back on their feet.
We want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel like this is a safe place where you can start anew. It's been really, really rewarding. And you know, from my experiences that I've had, the challenges that I've had, I'm able to show them firsthand that we get up, we keep going, we put one foot in front of the other, and we will persevere.
An important part of moving forward for Schanda has been recognizing those who stood by her. And while she did speak on the phone with Chad Martin, that officer who saved her, she never got the chance to thank him in person until now, when we arranged for them to meet.
So good to meet you.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm looking at you to see if I can remember.
I remember. I'm really glad that I was in the right place at the right time to help you. Really glad.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like I owe you everything. I guess my greatest gratitude in you saving my life is that my daughter gets to have her mom and have a good life.
Wow.
Thank you. Give you another hug.
Wow.
Yeah.
"48 hours to miss it would be a crime."
Were you at all prepared for what happened in this case?
I've never spoken publicly before about any of this. Never really fully healed from any of what happened. It's like waking up every morning and having the same phone call.
911, what is the address? That's your emergency.
911 call came in October 2nd, 2017. It was called in as a welfare check.
Something happened at my ex-husband's house over the evening, and my two children came to my house this morning. Okay, and what did they tell you exactly? Their dad's gone, their older sister's gone.
Where are we, officer? Set the scene for us.
This is Benson Street, and for me, this is just another welfare check. But we don't know what we're walking into.
What is your ex-husband's name? Aaron Fryer.
I learned that he was a good guy. He was a good dad.
What is your daughter's name?
My oldest daughter's name is Ellen Fryer.
How old is she?
She's 15.
Ellie was in the marching band. Very bright, very intelligent.
With the older daughter missing, it was very suspicious. We didn't really know how suspicious it was until we saw what we saw when we got here.
Not for police. Not yourself that you're in here.
We clear the house, and in the living room, based on the blood splatter, there was a serious assault, probable murder that occurred.
So time was of the essence in this
Absolutely.
case.
Time is always of the essence, you know. The only information I had was from the patrol officers and what Sierra was able to tell us on scene.
I remember waking up in the middle of the night.
We know at around 5:30 that Sierra heard the glass breaking.
I just started listening. Just listening to try and understand what was happening.
I was certain she had heard the assault, but she hadn't realized that.
Thank God she didn't walk out and interrupt this thing.
I was very terrified.
Based on what she had seen at the house, she knew somebody wasn't okay. She went over to the couch. She felt something wet, and when she pulled her hand up, it was covered in blood.
I just was in like a state of shock.
Sierra could not locate her father, Aaron, and her teenage sister, Ellie. We treated it as a missing person, serious assault, until we know otherwise. Everyone was out looking. There was also a potential that this was what we could refer to as a no-body homicide. And those cases are always tough to work.
As of right now in my family, there are 2 family members missing. It's still like an open wound every day.
The quiet city of Medford, Oregon, was shaken by Maggie Fryer's desperate 911 call in the early morning hours of October 2nd, 2017.
I don't know where my ex-husband or my oldest daughter is. I understand that. Something happened at the house. Something happened over there.
Maggie Fryer's ex-husband, Aaron Fryer, and their 15-year-old daughter, Ellen, nicknamed Ellie, were missing.
My concern is for the both of them. We don't know where they are.
You can only imagine all the things that were running around in my mind. I didn't know who was dead and who was alive.
When Medford police officer Logan Boyd arrived at Aaron's house, he found that gruesome scene.
There's blood everywhere.
Blood-spattered walls, shattered glass, and a trail of blood to nowhere.
See, it starts from there and kind of goes all the way out in the dirt.
It goes out towards the carport.
Yeah, that's not good.
This led investigators to notice what also was missing: Aaron Fryer's car, seen here on a neighbor's security camera leaving the Fryer home around 5:30 that morning.
We're kind of dealing with what I would describe as like a two-headed monster.
An all-hands-on-deck call went out to every Medford police detective, including Detective Bill Ford.
We didn't know at that particular time whether this was a missing person case or a kidnapping. We just didn't know.
Detective Shannon Reynolds, Bill Ford's colleague and wife of 20 years, had a different take.
In my mind, I automatically assumed that the 15-year-old daughter was the victim of a homicide.
So a case like this, where did this one sort of fit in?
Probably one of the most interesting, heinous crimes I've seen in my career.
Investigators hoped Ellie's younger sister, 11-year-old Sierra, might shed light on the unknown. Detective Reynolds, who specializes in crimes against children, was tasked with interviewing her.
Sierra wasn't, like, outright crying, but you could tell she was worried.
Who was she worried about?
Her dad and Ellie.
I try not to really think about that time a lot, but...
Sierra, 18 years old at the time of this exclusive interview, still finds it difficult to speak about the day her father and sister vanished.
I was, just a child, and, sorry.
The second of 3 girls, Sierra says she loved being in the middle.
I get to be an older sister and a younger sister, so I get, the best of both worlds. I like the connection and the bonds that we have.
Sierra says her older sister Ellie loved music and could play many instruments. A skill Ellie seemed to have picked up from their father.
One time, he tried to teach me how to play the drums, but I wasn't very good at it, so.
In 2016, Sierra's parents, Maggie and Aaron, ended their marriage. Sierra says the divorce took a toll on her and her sisters.
It affected us a lot. It was actually not a very great experience for everyone involved.
Sierra says that when her parents separated, her dad moved into that small 2-bedroom house. Maggie and Aaron shared custody, and the girls would stay with their dad every other weekend. In September 2017, Sierra decided to live with her dad full-time.
I want to be around him and fill my life with him.
Then, around 5:30 a.m. on October 2nd, 2017, the Fryer family was forever broken. Sierra was asleep in the bedroom she shared with her younger sister.
I woke up and it was just pitch black. I remember waking up to like a dinging noise over and over and over again. Then I heard glass shatter and I heard the fight that occurred.
The sound was coming from the living room.
So then what does she hear? Because she really is sort of an ear witness to all that happened.
She heard her dad yell the F word. She heard dragging. She heard things being moved.
After that, it was completely silent.
Did she have any idea what was going on at the time?
No. She was frightened enough to stay in her room until she felt like it was okay to come out.
When Sierra finally did come out, she found that horrific scene.
It had to be so scary, though.
So scary.
Sierra told Detective Reynolds that before leaving her room, she had seen something out of her bedroom window.
She could see people walking back and forth.
Sierra saw two young men outside of her dad's house. One was a person Sierra didn't know. The second was someone Sierra immediately recognized. It was Gavin McFarlane.
He was Ellen's boyfriend at the time. This was her big love. According to her, he was a great guy, but according to my parents, he was not a great guy.
Sierra insinuated this was a little bit of a forbidden love. Dad had forbade Ellie from seeing Gavin.
This was the break investigators had been hoping for.
Once we have a name, Gavin McFarlane, now we got a picture. Now we know who we're looking for.
The search for Aaron and Ellie Fryer, and now Gavin McFarlane, was on.
We probably had 70, 75 people out on the streets of Medford.
Ellie and Aaron's phones were found in the house. Investigators now began tracking Gavin's phone.
We started getting cell phone tower hits up in the East Medford area.
Patrol officers immediately headed in that direction.
A patrol sergeant locates the car. That was huge.
As the officers approached Aaron Fryer's vehicle, they realized that something wasn't right.
We could see there was blood on the outside of the bumper that had been dripping down. When this trunk is opened up, there is large amounts of blood. I mean, it is soaked into the carpet.
But no Aaron and no Ellie. But the car was still warm, so the police knew they were close.
We had tons of people up there driving around looking for them.
And then just an hour later, investigators couldn't believe who they found next.
Their dad's gone, their older sister's gone.
Then, just 4 hours after that 911 call reporting her missing, Medford police found Ellie Fryer. She was alive, seemingly unharmed, and had been walking down a busy street with Gavin McFarlane.
They're walking down the sidewalk.
In plain sight.
Plain sight, so now we know Ellie's safe.
Which made two things clear. Aaron Fryer was the victim. And based on all that blood in his car and at the house, time was quickly running out to find him.
We had Aaron out there either seriously injured or deceased.
Walking along with Gavin and Ellie was someone investigators hadn't been looking for.
Do you have ID with your name on there?
No, I don't. I hardly ever carry my ID around.
Okay.
He turned out to be Russell Jones.
Thanks. Have a seat real quick.
A friend of Gavin's.
I won't make it hard on you.
All right.
Russell had apparently made an impression on Sierra Fryer, says Detective Shannon Reynolds. He matched the description of that second young man she saw at her father's house that morning.
So she got a really good look at this person.
Yes. Investigators now had a witness placing Gavin and Russell at the crime scene. Detective Ford says he wasn't sure what to make of Ellie being found with them.
That doesn't mean that Ellie's involved in something.
But Ford says that she, Gavin, or Russell might hold the key to finding Aaron.
Ellie, Gavin, and Russell are separated, detained, and transported to the Medford Police Department for questioning.
Hi. Hello.
Detective Stephanie Jackson was tasked with getting Ellie Fryer's account of the previous 24 hours.
So what have you been up to today?
I haven't been home, and now I'm really concerned about what's been going on.
Where were you?
Out.
Ellie was saying everything had seemed normal when she left her father's house for a long walk.
And you were walking down the street, it sounds like, today? Who were you with?
I was with my friends.
According to Ellie, she had run into those friends, Gavin and Russell, only by chance, not long before being spotted by police.
And so everybody is really concerned because we actually don't know where your dad is right now.
It's really disturbing to hear. Maybe he was looking for me.
We are very worried about your dad.
So am I.
Ellie was saying she had no idea where her father was or what happened at the house.
So where did all the blood come from in your house?
I don't know.
Around that time, Detective Ford was preparing to interrogate the other 2 detainees. Strategically, he decided to let Gavin wait in a holding cell and began interviewing Russell.
Spin around in your chair there and face me so I can talk to you.
He's a talker, very, very talkative. So I kind of knew he would have a hard time keeping his mouth shut.
Yeah, I have nothing to hide. So. Okay, good.
Russell was ready to talk, but he wanted something first, a cigarette.
I talk better when I have a cigarette.
Detective Ford took him outside.
Just kind of smoking and joking is what we call it.
The camera didn't record audio, but Detective Ford says Russell began telling him that he and Gavin had gone over to the Fryer house early that morning.
He told us that he was trying to help get Ellie out of a bad situation.
That bad situation, according to Russell, was Aaron Fryer.
And the first thing that he tells us is he's not a good person.
Aaron Fryer's not a good person?
Correct.
He didn't elaborate further about Aaron, but Russell was claiming he and Gavin were only there to secretly move Ellie out.
So the next thing I tell him is, look, Russell, we got detectives out there right now pulling video from every house, the alleys. So if this ain't the truth, you need to be truthful with me right now. And he looks me square in the eyes and he says, well, 95% of it's the truth and there's 5% of it's a lie. So I'm thinking automatically, well, what's the lie here?
Detective Ford decided it was time for a new tactic and tried appealing to Russell's conscience.
I look at him and I'm like, you know, Russell, I don't want a child to find Aaron out there somewhere, come across something like that. I said, can you take us to Aaron? He didn't beat an eye. He's just like, yeah, I'll take you to him.
The veteran detective wasted no time.
We load Russell up. He's actually sitting in the seat that you're sitting in now.
Okay.
We got him handcuffed in front. He's basically telling us, okay, turn right, turn left.
They were ascending a rural mountain pass 20 miles outside town.
And all of a sudden, Russell says, stop, right here.
Where did you stop your car back there? Probably right where that rock is.
Do you see the body right away?
You could see the tarp. You couldn't see any portion of the body.
Right here in this green tarp.
Detectives descended the wooded ravine and pulled back that tarp, revealing that just 6 hours after that 911 call, they had found Aaron Fryer.
It was obvious that he was deceased.
When you found out your husband was dead, what did you think?
I was completely shocked. I didn't know what to think.
Maggie says the police hadn't yet told her Ellie was in their custody being questioned, or even that she had been found.
I was very worried about the fate of my daughter. I had no idea if my daughter was even alive, too.
Maggie then faced the unimaginable task of sharing the news of Aaron's death with their 2 younger daughters. The reality was almost too much for then 11-year-old Sierra.
I just really didn't want to believe it for a really long time.
While investigators began processing the scene, Detective Ford drove Russell Jones back to police headquarters. He says Russell was claiming that all he had done was help dispose of Aaron's remains.
He's like, I'm not going to be a witness against Gavin.
Russell was saying Gavin was Aaron's killer, but that Gavin had been provoked.
His story was that Aaron had a rifle and was pointing at Gavin.
So making it seem like a self-defense, because if he had a gun pointed at him.
Exactly.
You can sit in that chair over there. Okay.
Back at the station, Detective Ford returned Russell to the interrogation room, while detectives gathered for a briefing.
You're listening in on my conversations, aren't you?
That's when Russell began taunting them through the camera.
I can still twist your little mind. Don't piss me off.
This, I imagine, got everybody to stop what they were doing and gather around the monitor and watch this.
That's what you do.
So, we can play it the easy way or the hard way.
He would go into these rants and making demands and stuff.
Gavin and Ellie are to be released to me.
And Russell was claiming he still hadn't been totally truthful.
And Mr. Ford, you want the whole story? Because I did miss a few parts.
For her part, Ellie was now saying Russell was the one responsible.
I believe that Russell's the one that killed my father.
All right.
With the conflicting claims, Detective Ford decided it was finally time to interview Gavin McFarland.
I know I'm in serious trouble, aren't I?
Well, we need to figure out what happened.
Gavin started by saying how volatile Aaron Fryer could be.
He's threatened my life. He's like, no, stay away from my daughter. I'm going to kill you.
1 month earlier, Gavin had called the police, claiming Aaron had shown up at his house, banging on his door, threatening to kill him.
I don't know what caused him to not like me anymore.
Detectives discovered at least one reason: Gavin's age. He was 19 years old, dating 15-year-old Ellie. And making things worse, Gavin was now claiming Ellie was going to have his baby.
She told you she was pregnant?
I've known for about 2 weeks now.
While Gavin was admitting to having a sexual relationship with a minor, itself a crime, he was accusing Aaron of being the one who had been abusive to Ellie.
The anger had just been building up because of the things that Ellie had been telling me. I'm trying to protect Ellie.
Okay.
My boss will try it.
Gavin was claiming he and Russell had gone to the house that morning, but unlike what Russell said, that Aaron had not confronted him with the gun. Instead, Gavin was saying Aaron had been in the living room, asleep on the couch, and that Gavin had crept in, armed with a baseball bat. Then Gavin made a startling admission.
I just acted on instinct.
Okay, tell us what happened.
I just swung the bat downwards. It was dark. I couldn't see.
How many times do you think you hit him?
Like 5 or 6 maybe.
5 or 6 times?
Yeah.
The physical evidence would back up Gavin's story. Aaron had died from blunt force trauma to his head, and a bat was recovered from a tree branch above where his remains had been found.
So this is the aluminum bat. Discoloration, you can see it's red here. This is all blood.
Testing would confirm the blood was Aaron's.
And he demonstrated for us in the interview room how hard he swung it down on Aaron's head.
Lock
I went over the shoulder the first time, and then I started going up above my head.
I mean, there were 5 distinct blows to his head.
Explaining that dinging sound Sierra Fryer had heard.
They fractured his skull, caved his skull into his brain.
I'm really sorry.
And investigators soon found evidence that Aaron's murder had been meticulously plotted for weeks. They discovered notes, some in Russell's handwriting, at Gavin's house.
We found several murder plans, and they actually had plan A, plan B. There were multiple plans, and I think ultimately they come up with the bat.
And based on what you could see from the planning, who's the mastermind of all of this?
Ellie, believe it or not.
Detective Ford says he believes it was Ellie who wanted Aaron murdered, pointing to messages Ford says she sent to Gavin. In one, she says, "We need to make sure he's dead by the time we leave his house." And in another, she asked, "You want to kill him now, don't you? And then you can kill him in less than a minute, right?"
She's pushing it all. She wants to be with Gavin. She wants to be out from underneath the authority of her father.
Ellie wanted me to kill him, but I didn't want to.
Detective Ford says Ellie might have made up those abuse allegations, possibly as a way to motivate Gavin to kill her father.
She is very manipulative. From me watching that entire interview, she lied.
Are you Ellie? No.
And lied.
How old are you?
18.
And lied.
How did Gavin get in the house this morning?
He wasn't in the house.
After several hours, Ellie did eventually admit some of her role, even saying that she had handed Gavin the murder weapon.
And what do you say to Gavin?
I said, "I'm ready when you are."
Okay, what did you mean by that?
When you do this, we're in it together.
What did you mean when you said, "when you do this"?
Kill my dad.
With evidence, they all conspired to kill Aaron. Gavin, Russell, and Ellie were charged with his murder.
From the day after she was arrested, there was this narrative, and her side was never told.
Until now.
The story that the state has, why is it the right one?
My daughter left to go stay at my ex-husband's house for the weekend and never came home.
I imagine that moment haunts you still.
Of course it does. My child never came home.
After hours of worry, Maggie Fryer was finally told her 15-year-old daughter Ellie had been located.
I got a phone call from a police officer that they found her.
But worry morphed into anger when she was then told Ellie had been arrested for her father's murder.
Go ahead and take a seat.
And I said, "So you've had my daughter in your custody, interrogating her, and you never once called me to let me know so I could maybe get her some representation?"
Eliza Kaplan eventually became one of Ellie's attorneys. She says the narrative about Ellie Fryer has been wrong from the very beginning.
In this case, she was made out to be the mastermind or something, you know? She planned all of this when she was 15 years old and they were 19 and 22.
She was the manipulator.
She was the manipulator, right? And that this was all because of her relationship with an older man.
But Kaplan says this crime actually happened because of the alleged abuse Ellie suffered at the hands of her father, Aaron.
She was sexually abused, emotionally abused, and physically abused.
Abuse that Ellie described in her police interrogation.
He used to be a good father, but he started getting abusive about 3 years ago.
I picked out a bunch of things, but...
Reading from the case file, Kaplan recounted several allegations of molestation and abuse. Warning, the following may be disturbing to hear.
Her father would grab at her breasts. He told her to give in to him.
And he tried to take my clothes off. And I slapped him away.
He would masturbate on top of her when he thought she was sleeping.
I felt so dirty and so ashamed of myself.
He pushed her downstairs, called her whore, idiot, stupid, slut-shamed her.
And he would pin me up against the wall and he would call me those names.
And then when he would get drunk, it would all get worse.
As the police report shows, 3 of Ellie's friends told investigators that Ellie said her dad abuses her. Ellie shared that her dad was rough on her and emotionally and physically abused her. And Ellie said her dad mentally and verbally abused her. But Ellie admits she never told her friends about the sexual molestation. And neither Ellie nor her friends told the police about any kind of abuse before her father's murder.
And as far as allegations of abuse, was there any evidence whatsoever that your detectives could find to back up what Ellen Fryer was saying happened to her?
No, there was not.
Detective Ford says with Aaron's death, the possibility of proving abuse may have died with him.
We can't go to Aaron and ask Aaron, were you abusing your daughter? We may never know the truth. If she told her mom, did she tell her mom ahead of time?
Have you thought about having a conversation with your mom about that?
No, I'm horrified to even talk about it.
Who have you talked to about your dad masturbating?
I told Gavin about it, but that's it.
Ellie told Detective Jackson that the first time she had told Gavin was 2 days before he bludgeoned her father to death.
Because I know this is hard to talk about. I know.
Why me? Why did he do it to me? I have no idea what he's done to my sisters.
I see a teenager who would do anything to survive and to protect her sisters.
Detective Shannon Reynolds says 11-year-old Sierra was asked if there were any problems at home.
She actually only had good things to say about her father.
When Detective Reynolds interviewed the youngest Fryer daughter, she recalled the last conversation she had with Ellie, minutes after their father's murder.
She had said that Ellie had woken her up, and she said she was leaving, and that she was leaving because mom and dad were abusive.
Before Reynolds could say anything, the 8-year-old gave her opinion on the matter.
And she told me my mom and dad were not abusive.
Both of Ellie's sisters told Reynolds that what Ellie had called abuse was actually their parents disciplining her for sneaking around with Gavin.
Because they took her electronics away and they yelled at her.
What do you say to that?
Yeah. Well, they were younger, right? This is actually very common in families where there's abuse, that there's one child who takes on the majority of it and want to protect the others in the family.
You know, you describe her as this protective older sister, but yet she left them there at the house. How is that protecting them?
Yeah, and I think, those are things that Ellen will live with for the rest of her life. And she clearly understands how much damage she has caused her sister.
Detective Ford says that with no evidence to back up Ellie's abuse claims, he remains suspicious that she may have made it all up to manipulate Gavin, seen here with Ellie on a store security camera hours after the murder. And it turns out Ellie was never pregnant.
I think you got to look at it 2 ways. Maybe she thought she was pregnant, or maybe she's using that to influence Gavin to kill her dad.
Ellie's legal team says Ellie did think she was pregnant, which is why she bought a pregnancy test while at the store. Investigators say it's clear Ellie Fryer has an issue with the truth.
She lied during that interview for no reason.
Kaplan says much has been made of the many lies Ellie told during her police interrogation.
As a parent, we all know that our kids sometimes do that.
But Kaplan says the real focus should be on the hours and hours and hours Ellie spent in that interview room.
I have the right to remain silent.
She asked to not talk. She said, I want to remain silent, right? She was there for 10 hours straight.
But with your wishing to remain silent, it's really difficult to kind of get to the bottom of all of that.
Then let's talk.
A minor without a guardian or attorney.
Is it normal to keep a 15-year-old in an interrogation room for 10 hours like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's no law against it. So we gave her breaks.
I sound like it.
There was times where she laid on the floor and slept.
Kaplan says that although it may have been legal in Oregon, it wasn't right.
And look, police have their jobs to do. I get it. I just think the rules are really different when you have a kid. And in that, she looks like a kid. She's acting like a kid. She's in fear like a kid would be.
A kid who Kaplan says was taken advantage of by someone she calls another abuser, 19-year-old Gavin McFarland.
A grown man reaching over to a 15-year-old girl who was so vulnerable, no matter what her text messages said, no matter what her involvement was. I don't even understand how you don't look at that as him being the controller.
Detective Reynolds says she saw some of that controlling behavior on display in letters Gavin wrote to Ellie after they were arrested.
He was saying that she needed to be sure to say that her dad was abusing her. And he was telling her, we're going to take this to a jury and we're going to win the jury over. And the way to do that is to cry. Make sure you cry.
But there would be no trial. In January of 2019, a little more than a year after her father's death, Ellie Fryer took a plea deal.
How did you feel about that decision?
I didn't like it because I'm pretty sure that she did it because she was scared. I don't think she wanted to go to court.
Ellie Fryer pleaded guilty to an adult charge of conspiring to murder her father, Aaron.
I would first like to say that I'm sorry for all the pain that I've caused to others through this whole ordeal.
The deal was brokered by a different defense attorney. According to court documents, that attorney wrote that Ellie Fryer's co-defendants, Gavin McFarland and Russell Jones, were going to be testifying against her and say that she was the mastermind behind all of this. It was her idea from the beginning. Ellie's text messages would have been used against her at trial, too. Elisa Kaplan began working on Ellie Fryer's behalf in 2024.
I run the Criminal Justice Reform Clinic. We are looking at Ellen's case, mostly because we believe that she has an excessive sentence.
And what is her sentence?
25 years.
McFarland and Jones also took plea deals, with Gavin McFarland pleading guilty to murder and murder conspiracy charges. He was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Russell Jones entered a no-contest plea to conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to 15 years. Kaplan is fighting to reduce Ellie Fryer's sentence. She says Ellie should not have been sentenced to 10 more years than Jones for the same crime.
She was 15, he was 22, and her sentence is so much bigger than his.
The idea that Ellen is the master manipulator, I mean, she's a 15-year-old. I mean, don't they bear more responsibility because they're the adults?
I wouldn't agree with that. Ellie is absolutely just as responsible as Gavin, except Gavin was the one that took and held the bat in his hands.
Detective Shannon Reynolds isn't as certain as her husband about Ellie Fryer's role.
I go back and forth. The mastermind of it, I initially thought was Ellie. Then reading the letters from Gavin that he wrote to Ellie, telling her what she needed to say, then I started to think maybe Gavin was the mastermind of all of this. I go back and forth.
Ford says regardless of who crafted the plan, all three are responsible in the eyes of the law.
Because without her, this wouldn't have happened. Without Gavin, this wouldn't have happened. I doubt without Russell it could have happened.
I want to be very clear. She was involved. She participated. She was a co-conspirator. No doubt, right? She takes full accountability for her role in this crime.
Ellie Fryer, now 23, has been serving her sentence in a juvenile detention center. In December of 2026, she'll be moved to an adult prison. And she recently earned 2 master's degrees, one in psychology and another in justice studies.
Which, by the way, is not that easy to do when you're in prison. She's really incredible.
I am very proud of her. I've always been proud of her after what she went through.
Aaron's dead. Who's going to speak out for Aaron?
Sierra Fryer will.
My dad was a kind man who loved me and my sisters and always tried to fill my life with joy. He was a great father to me. He goes with me wherever I go.
Sierra has joined the National Guard, something she says her father always wanted for her.
It's mind-blowing that the little girl I interviewed is now grown up. The fact that she's joining the National Guard lets me know she didn't let this, derail her life.
A life Sierra has had to live without her father, whose memory has been marred by those abuse allegations. A 48 Hours producer asked Sierra about them.
Ellie claims that your father abused her. What do you have to say to that?
I don't really want to talk about that just because I have my own feelings about it.
Sierra is just as guarded when it comes to her thoughts about her sister Ellie, though the two have maintained a relationship over the years.
It's very hard to explain because a lot of people wouldn't understand. I've got my own feelings about her.
But Sierra's feelings about her father are very clear.
I love him, and I'm so sorry for everything that happened. I have faith, and I have hope that one day, we'll meet again.
"48 Hours. Don't miss an episode."
You go back to the first days after the murder. This might have been a dispute between teenagers. It might have involved a girl. It might have involved drinking. Whoever knew about John's killing kept this secret for over 40 years.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
September 26, 1969 is the day that changed the lives of Bill and Evelyn McCabe forever.
I don't think I've had a whole night's sleep since it's happened.
If it's not too painful, can you tell me about his last day?
Went to a dance, his second dance.
15-year-old John McCabe was looking forward to going to the Knights of Columbus dance that evening.
Took a shower, scrubbed his hair, put his father's aftershave on. He didn't shave, but he put his father's aftershave on. Oh yeah, he got all spruced up. 11 o'clock, I started looking out the window. That's when the dance closes. He should be home by midnight. So I went down to the dance and checked the road, screaming out the window, "John! John!" No John. I started praying at that point.
The day after John McCabe went missing, 3 young kids were cutting through a vacant lot when they made a horrifying discovery, which was the body of John McCabe. He had been bound and gagged and tied with rope. After John's body was found, Bill McCabe, a pillar of strength, had to do the unspeakable. That was identify the body of his dead son.
Never forget it. People keep talking about closure. You can't shake it.
He then had to go home and inform his family of what had happened.
Bill said, "Honey, our son's dead."
Well, I was a senior in high school.
Were you fearful?
Yes. They hadn't caught the people that killed my brother.
Did you think when you looked at kids in your classes, maybe it's him, maybe it's him?
Maybe it was them. Maybe they knew something. How could they not know anything?
Without physical evidence, without a witness, this case remained unsolved for several years, and several years became decades.
Ready?
This is it.
I pray every day justice will be served.
There was only one way this case was going to be solved.
Do you solemnly swear that...
And how old were you in 1969?
17.
And that's if someone came forward and talked.
How do you know how John McCabe died?
I was there.
It took almost every ounce of strength left in his 85-year-old body to get to the witness stand. But Bill McCabe waited 43 years for this day and the start of this trial in January 2013.
Good morning, Mr. McCabe. Do you remember September 27th, 1969?
Yes, sir.
How old was John at that day?
He was 15 years, 6 months, and 2 weeks.
I always visualized him as being a big shot somewhere. John Joseph McCabe, my son JJ, you know. But I never got to see any of those things.
In the fall of 1969, 2 men had just landed on the moon.
Beautiful, just beautiful.
Thousands had just crashed at Woodstock. And John McCabe, 15 years, 6 months, and 2 weeks old, was living with his family in Tewksbury, Massachusetts.
I think we have a right to be proud of him, yeah?
John's father, Bill, was an engineer. His mother, Evelyn, worked at the school library. His sisters, Roberta, who was 6, and Debbie, who was 17, remember a brother who was always busy, doing what brothers do.
It was pretty interesting. You open the closet door and your closet's filled with grasshoppers.
I just remember his hands were always dirty, like with oil or grease or a frog in his hand.
So you brought home a goose once, too.
Oh, yeah, Canadian goose. Big sucker.
It's fun to watch you talk about this because your eyes light up. I mean, you have very fond memories of those days.
Yeah.
Evelyn holds on to any reminder of her son.
I have John's money. I can't spend it.
And you've had it all these years?
Yeah, 25 years. Every now and then the smell's gone off of it now. I almost put it in the casket with him. And then I thought, no, I'll just keep it with me. And when I see him again, I'll give it to him.
When she last saw John, Evelyn gave him permission to go to that dance at the Knights of Columbus Hall.
I let him go. I let him go out the door. I shouldn't have.
The next day, police came to the house and took Evelyn's husband to the basement to talk.
They didn't want me to know anything.
But you heard.
I heard them.
Evelyn got on her knees and pressed her ear to a vent in the bathroom.
This is where I could hear everything that was going on down cellar.
The police were telling her husband John's body was discovered in a vacant lot in the neighboring gritty city of Lowell.
Well, what did you hear?
I heard that he was tied up and there was tape on his eyes and his mouth. I heard a lot. I cried. I laid there and cried.
A huge investigation was launched by the Lowell, Tewksbury, and Massachusetts State Police.
What evidence did they collect at the scene?
The rope that was used to tie John up, tape that was used to tape his eyes and his mouth, all of his clothing, his shoes.
Jerry Leone was the local DA who years later took on the case. Today, he's a partner in the law firm Nixon Peabody.
There was forensic evidence, but it wasn't really meaningful because you couldn't tie it to anyone in particular.
But the case looked promising at first. A witness had spotted a car near the crime scene that night.
I believe the way he had described it was a 1965 Chevy Impala colored plum or maroon.
Then another tip led police to a schoolmate of John's, 16-year-old Mike Ferreira, who says he barely knew John.
I probably seen him like a handful of times in my life. I didn't really, he wasn't a friend.
Ferreira and his friend Nancy Williams were questioned because they had picked up John when he was hitchhiking on his way to the dance.
I picked him up and I gave him a ride to the corner, and I never saw him again.
Ferreira told police that while the dance was underway, he left Nancy and met up with his best friend, Walter Shelley.
Me, Walter, and Bob Ryan took a ride to Lowell, try to get some beer.
They were in Walter Shelley's car. It was maroon, and it was a 1965 Chevy Impala. Police searched it but found no evidence. Still, Walter Shelley was now a person of interest. He was brought in for questioning and later polygraphed 5 times. The test showed he was lying in all vital areas of the questioning.
If you read the reports, now you start seeing Ferreira and Shelley, Shelley and Ferreira.
Ferreira was questioned multiple times.
I knew where they were going. Not totally stupid.
But Ferreira wasn't helping himself. At one point, while joyriding with some friends, he suddenly blurted out that he killed John.
I was 16, we're drinking, joking, and I said, yeah, I did it. They knew I was joking. I was a joker.
Leone says police were not amused, but there was no way to corroborate what Ferreira said.
Without physical evidence, without a witness statement putting him at the scene, the Ferreira lead kept drying up.
There were dozens of other people police investigated, other teens, local drug dealers, and pedophiles. Detectives worked this case hard for 2 years, while Bill McCabe worked on a record of his son's life.
I wasn't trying to be an author or anything like that. I was just looking at ways to hold on to him, keep his memory.
He also tried to make sure the police never forgot his son.
I was always on the phone talking to the police. I'd be up in the middle of the night. She'd be saying, "What the hell are you doing up? Get back to bed."
Despite Bill's persistence and the intense police effort, there were no arrests.
Shelley and Ferreira went into the service in 1970, so the following year, the two of them left the area.
And the McCabe family was left without any answers for decades.
This is the little compass so he can find his way home.
With each passing season, John McCabe's case grew colder. But his mother kept asking the most painful questions about how he died.
I tried to strangle myself, just to visualize what it felt like. I wondered, did he call for me? What kind of a mother was I? I wasn't there for him.
For a time, Evelyn set a place for John at the dinner table. His absence was a constant presence in the house.
You can't just do something wrong and not have to pay for it.
The case stalled for some 30 years until November 2000.
John and I went just about everywhere, you know.
When Jack Ward, a childhood friend of John's, made good on a decades-old promise to Bill McCabe.
He would say, "Jackie, if you hear anything about John, you keep your eyes out and let me know." I says, "If I ever hear anything, Mr. McCabe, you know, I'm going to tell you."
Ward had been at a cookout at this house in Tewksbury where he ran into a kid from the old neighborhood, Mike Ferreira. This photo was taken that day.
We're all sitting around drinking, and that's when he just blurted out, "I know who killed John." And he said it to me again, "I know who killed John." And, you know, finally I said, "Who?" And he says, "Walter." I said, "Walter Shelley." He says, "Yeah."
Walter Shelley.
I said, "What would be Walter's motive to kill John?" And he said, "Marla, because of Marla."
Marla Shiner. Ward said she was Walter Shelley's girlfriend back then, but he said the trouble was Marla also seemed to like John McCabe, and by all accounts, Walter Shelley was one very jealous young man. The footage you see was taken a few years after the murder. Ward admits he sat on the information for a while, worried about how to tell Bill McCabe.
You go knocking on somebody's door and say, "Hey, I know who killed your son. You better have it right."
I was shocked when he told me. So I scribbled it on a piece of paper. I put it in the Bible on a page beginning the book of John so I wouldn't forget it. And I immediately called the police.
But it took many more calls from Bill McCabe and 3 more years for police to show up at Ferreira's door. It was now 2003. Ferreira worked as a forklift operator, lived in Salem, New Hampshire, and Nancy Williams, his friend back in the day, was now his wife.
Mike wouldn't hurt a fly. Never, I know, he wouldn't.
Ferreira says he remembers the cookout conversation with Jack Ward very differently.
Jackie went and told them, I said, Walter Shelley killed him. I never said that. And at this cookout, you know, I already had a few drinks, and he's running his mouth, Shelley did it, Shelley did it. And this went on all afternoon. And finally, I got sick of hearing it. I says, he probably did it. Next thing I know, 3 years, 4 years later, I had the cops down my house wanting to talk to me about John McCabe.
Ferreira also denies discussing the jealousy motive with Ward.
That's his theory. I never said that.
But again, there was no corroborating evidence. So, again, the case stalled.
Well, what did they tell you about the investigation?
It's going fine. It was always going fine.
And how long did they tell you that for?
And you know what? It was sitting on a frickin' shelf.
But the police had not forgotten John McCabe.
All right, thanks.
In January of 2007, 37 years after the murder, Jerry Leone was sworn in as Middlesex County District Attorney.
The Lowell Police Department took it upon themselves to visit me weeks after I'd been elected to say, we'd actually like you to focus on this one and take a hard look at it with us.
Investigators had gone back over the files, and a name jumped out at them in Mike Ferreira's latest interview with police. In recounting the night of the murder, Ferreira said he was with Walter Shelley, but this time he added a name and said the other guy with them was Alan Brown.
Edward Allen Brown's name surfaces as someone who we're going to focus on.
Edward Allen Brown was 17 and lived not far from the McCabes when John was killed. He had long since moved away, but when police tracked him down, he said he knew nothing about the murder, never even heard of it.
So how likely is it that he would never even heard of the murder of John McCabe in a town the size of Tewksbury?
I'd say curious at the time.
And police got a call from Brown's wife that was even more curious.
His wife told police that she thought he was lying.
His wife said that she thought he was lying?
Right. Carolyn Brown indicates to police that 20 to 25 years earlier, her husband had told her about an evening where he was involved in a young man being killed.
But even that wasn't enough. It was the same old story. There was no corroborating evidence and no real movement in the case until 2011, when Detective Linda Coughlin was assigned to find the killers.
You think this case really took off when you met Detective Linda Coughlin?
Yes, definitely.
Why did you feel that way?
Because of her attitude. She said, I'm going to get them. And she did.
Detective Coughlin zeroed back in on Edward Allen Brown. He was retired from the Air Force and living in New Hampshire. Coughlin interrogated Brown just twice. But when Brown learned he failed a polygraph, he suddenly broke down. He confessed that he was there when Walter Shelley and Mike Ferreira killed John McCabe.
Why?
Lowell police brought in the McCabes and told them Brown's story about John's final hours.
My dad started crying. He keeled over on the table.
On April 15, 2011, nearly 42 years after John McCabe's body was found in that vacant lot, his father's perseverance finally paid off.
Mr. McCabe held our feet to the fire. He never let us forget John McCabe's murder.
The DA's office announced the indictments of Edward Allen Brown for manslaughter and Michael Ferreira and Walter Shelley for first-degree murder. Two names known to police since day one, two names also gathering dust here in John's Book of Mourners.
The murderers came to the wake, and they came to the funeral.
Why do you think Edward Allen Brown confessed? Chat now on Facebook and X.
It would take almost 2 years to bring the men accused of killing John McCabe to trial, 2 more years the McCabe's would have to wait.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony?
January 18, 2013,
Would you please be seated?
Edward Allen Brown was called to testify against his one-time friend,
Sir, would you
Mike
state your name and
Ferreira,
spell your
the
last
first defendant to go on trial.
Do you see Michael Ferrara in the courtroom today?
Yes, over there.
Mr. Brown.
For the
what kind of
first
car was
time,
Mr.
Brown
Shelley driving?
publicly shared the
65,
details of
Chevy
the night
Impala.
John died. Brown says he was at home watching television when Mike Ferreira and Walter Shelley pulled up to his house.
They wanted me to go with them to help them.
Help them do what?
I didn't know at the time until I got in the car and we left.
Brown testified they were on their way to the Knights of Columbus Hall when he learned of their plan.
They said they wanted to go find this kid that had been, messing around with Marla to teach him a lesson.
And how did you know Marla Shiner?
That was Walter's girlfriend. Michael noticed John McCabe was thumbing, and he said, "There he is." Then we pulled up next to John. Michael got out and grabbed him and pushed him in the back seat where I was. Michael was facing back at John, trying to smack him, and John had his arms up to try to stop him from doing that. We went under the Spaghettiville Bridge.
Brown says they drove up a dirt road to the vacant lot and pulled over.
And we got him outside the car.
Who pushed John out of the car?
I did. I thought they were just going to slap him around.
What happened next?
Then Michael and Walter wrestled John, tripped him up, and got him on the ground.
Brown testified that he and Shelley held John McCabe down while Ferreira tied him up.
Michael tied his ankles, then went around and tied his wrists together. Then he took another piece of rope around his ankles and attached it up to his neck. They had put tape on his mouth. John's squirming, wiggling, trying to get out. He's lying on his belly with his legs up in the air and his head turned sideways. Then they said that this will teach you to mess with Marla anymore. And we got in the car and left.
Brown says they drove around, drinking beer for a while.
Then I told them that we should go back and let him go.
Brown says they eventually returned to the lot.
Michael and Walter got out of the car and went over to him. They were there for about 30 to 45 seconds, and they came quickly back to the car. We started to drive off, and one of them said that he wasn't breathing.
John McCabe had died of strangulation.
I wonder what he thought of that night.
Then they brought me home.
What did you do?
I remember, I think I cried.
Brown says he kept the murder a secret for 41 years because he was afraid of Michael Ferreira.
Michael said, if anybody talks to anybody about this, I'll kill him.
Alan Brown's a friggin' liar, and I mean, they know that. According to the prosecutor, he's been to Iraq and Afghanistan 5 tours. Maybe he's got something wrong in his head.
They talk about these people that give false confessions. Either he did it with somebody else or by himself, or he is really a messed up human being.
My sense of Edward Brown was he was easily led.
Eric Wilson, Michael Ferreira's attorney, believes that police pressured Edward Allen Brown because he was someone they could force into confessing to a crime he did not commit. They also offered him a deal: no jail time.
Edward Brown did not walk into Lowell Police Department headquarters and say, look, I got to get this off my chest. After being interrogated by trained detectives over the course of many days, he was faced with the threat of spending the rest of his life in jail, or he could tell the police what they wanted to hear.
Walter Shelley and Mike Ferreira picked you up at your house at 10:30, right?
Yes.
The question that I had to answer for the jury is, Why would he tell them that if he didn't do it?
Did you think you could do that? That's a tough sell.
It was a tough sell, but Ed Brown gave me a lot to work with.
You were fed information it was a dirt lot, right?
Yes.
Over the course of 2 days, Ferreira's attorney grilled Brown relentlessly.
And in your 4 or 5 trial prep sessions.
Until Brown admitted that the prosecution had fed him parts of his story.
You were fed information that it was near a railroad tower, right?
Yes.
And you're being told that Shelley was jealous over Marla Shiner, right?
Yes.
There are certain pieces of information that an investigator may provide to someone who they're interviewing to see whether or not they know anything about that, to see whether or not it jogs their memory.
Well, but couldn't that also be a way of telegraphing to the witness what you want him to say?
Well, in this case, that didn't have to happen because Brown was the one who talked about the rope, the tape, the binding of John.
However Brown got his story, Wilson claims it cannot be true because it does not fit the evidence. In fact, in the 1969 police reports, detectives noted that they were unable to find any evidence of a scuffle.
There was no suggestion anywhere around John McCabe's body or the scene that that struggle described by Edward Brown ever took place.
Why would Edward Allen Brown lie and implicate himself so directly in what happened unless it was the truth?
Your testimony has not always been 1030, has it?
Wilson thought it was not enough to try to discredit Brown. He also had to punch holes in the alleged motive, jealousy over a girl. He'll do it by calling that girl,
my name is Marla Shiner,
to the witness stand.
That you would have known each other from being in the same age.
Mr. Brown, you've lied under oath when you're scared, right?
Yes.
You've lied under oath when you're nervous, right?
Yes.
You've lied under oath when you're frightened, right?
Correct.
Prosecutors had a problem with their star witness, Edward Allen Brown. He seemed to wither under strong cross-examination from the defense.
You still can't get your facts straight, can you?
No.
So prosecutor Tom O'Reilly called Detective Linda Coughlin to counter accusations that she'd forced Edward Allen Brown to confess and fed him details.
At any point, did you feed him information as to the investigation?
never.
But Eric Wilson says Coughlin also had tunnel vision and ignored evidence of other suspects.
There were a number of investigative reports and material that you either overlooked or didn't even know about. True?
I don't know what you're referring to.
How about Richard Santos?
Richard Santos was flagged in this Tewksbury police report as a suspect in the McCabe murder in 1974. Santos was arrested for committing a crime eerily similar to John McCabe's murder.
This young woman was abducted on Route 38. Her feet were bound, her hands were tied behind her back, her mouth was duct taped, and her eyes were taped shut.
All of the facts that surround Santos as a possible subject lead you to be suspicious, but there was never anything tying him to motive, opportunity, means.
Information on Richard Santos.
Still, the judge allowed the jury to hear about Santos and another suspect.
With respect to Robert Morley.
Robert Morley, a local 25-year-old who reportedly knew both Ferreira and Shelley and was suffering from mental illness.
He was labeled, long before you were assigned this case, as a strong suspect, right?
There is a report that uses the word for him, strong suspect, and the very same report mentions Mr. Ferreira as a prime suspect.
But it's how Morley became a strong suspect that makes him so interesting. Police learned about him shortly after the crime from his own brothers. Well, Morley's own brothers went in and said that they thought he might have been involved in it.
Yeah, they thought he might have.
Former DA Jerry Leone says Morley's brothers were mistaken.
I think what happens in matters like this is people will say, sure, you should take a look at X or Y because they have a profile of somebody who would do something like this, and they were around the area at the time. But then you have to look at the evidence and see whether or not the evidence leads you to believe that they had anything to do with it.
Do the brothers have any specific evidence that you're aware of?
They did not.
He split to Florida the day after he was questioned by police. Mr. Morley, years later, in my estimate, committed suicide.
You learned of his death, his suicide, right? He jumped off a bridge, right?
His brother says he fell off a bridge.
The defense also tried to punch holes in the alleged motive for the murder and called a surprising witness to do it.
Yes, my name is Marla Shiner, and my spelling of my last name is S-H-I-N-E-R.
Thank you.
Marla Shiner, the girl who Walter Shelley and Mike Ferreira allegedly killed for. Edward Allen Brown had just testified that Marla was Shelley's girlfriend in September of '69, and Shelley was jealous because John was flirting with her. But Marla says John never flirted with her.
Did you ever go to a dance with John McCabe?
Never.
Did it ever convey to you that he had any type of romantic interest in you in August or September of 1969?
None.
The McCabes say it doesn't matter if the flirting was real or imagined.
She could have been just stopped and said hello to John. And Shelley could have walked by and seen it, and he's going to explode.
Next, Marla threw the prosecution a curveball.
September 26, 1969, were you dating Walter Shelley?
No. I was not dating Walter when John McCabe died.
When did you start dating him then?
I believe it was after that death.
How old were you?
13?
You were 13, September 69.
Oh, I don't know. I can't do the math right here.
But according to police, Marla told them she was dating Shelley at the time and was just 12 years old when they started seeing each other.
You didn't tell the police that you were dating Walter Shelley? In 1969 when John McCabe was killed?
No, I don't believe I did tell him that.
Why lie about dating someone unless it was because of her that John was murdered?
48 Hours had questions for Marla Shiner, too, but she declined our request for an interview. Marla eventually married Walter Shelley, but it didn't last. She said he was very violent.
Miss Shiner, was Walter Shelley a jealous man?
Absolutely.
It appears that we're ready to proceed then.
Judge, at this point in time, the defendant would rest.
This was a hard-fought trial till the end, and then it was up to the jury to decide. Did Mike Ferreira help Walter Shelley kill John McCabe over a girl? Or was Edward Allen Brown telling a story the prosecution wanted to hear? It only took jurors 5 hours to decide.
I told Michael that we had to hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst, and he was ready for that.
May I have the verdict slip, please?
For the McCabe family, more than 4 decades of waiting and working came down to this moment.
What did you think the verdict was going to be?
Guilty. My God, he was guilty. If for no other reason, he was there.
It's hard to understand how the jury could, anticipate otherwise.
Bill McCabe was too nervous and too sick to sit in the courtroom that day, so he waited in another room while Evelyn and their daughters heard the verdict.
What say you to this indictment, ma'am? Is the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Everyone, including Mike Ferreira, was so stunned, it took a while to sink in.
When the verdict came in, when you heard that Ferreira had been acquitted,
I had to go tell my husband that.
Were you afraid to tell him?
Yes.
Why?
I was afraid he was going to die.
Tragically, Evelyn was right. Just 4 days after the verdict, Bill McCabe's heart gave out and he gave up.
What do you think killed your husband?
Stress. The stress of the trial.
While Evelyn McCabe laid her husband to rest next to their son, the DA's office had a decision to make. After losing the case against Mike Ferreira, would it go ahead with the trial of Walter Shelley.
There goes Jack, there goes Jim, down to Lover's Lane. All the girls are singing love songs, all the boys sing Adeline. Those wedding bells are breaking.
I still don't believe Bill's gone. I can still hear him snore in the night. And then I feel the bad he's not there.
Evelyn McCabe was determined to honor her husband's dying wish.
He laid in the hospital bed, and I says, I'll pick up and take over for you.
She'd see to it someone would pay for John's murder.
The jurors find Michael Ferrera not guilty. So
Watching Michael Ferrera go free was tough for some jurors, too.
So how hard was it for you to acquit him?
It was very difficult.
One of the jurors, Michael Duquette, says the biggest problem was Edward Allen Brown.
The plan was to teach him a lesson for messing with Marla.
Did the majority of the jurors believe him?
No.
Why not?
They just felt that he was not telling the truth.
I thought they were just going to slap him around. And
They felt that he had been fed information, and that didn't make a ton of sense to me. Maybe he wasn't the best witness, but I just can't see somebody saying, I did it, when they didn't do it.
Duquette came to believe Brown and wanted to find Michael Ferrera guilty of something. But the only choices the jurors had were first and second degree murder.
So what did you want to convict him of?
Manslaughter, and it wasn't an option.
We are extremely pleased with the jury's verdict.
Despite the Ferrera loss, prosecutors decided to try to convict the other suspect in the murder, Walter Shelley.
The acquittal in the Ferrera case didn't do anything to lessen our belief that we had the right people who were responsible for killing John McCabe.
All rise. September 3rd, 2013, 7 months after Michael Ferrera's acquittal.
This murder was about John McCabe.
It was Walter Shelley's turn to stand trial. Shelley was 17 the night of John's murder. He's now 61, remarried, and has lived quietly in Tewksbury ever since, just a few miles from Evelyn McCabe.
Walter Shelley is sitting on the small of his back, holding the hands down.
If convicted of first-degree murder, Shelley could spend the rest of his life in prison.
They wrestle him to the ground.
It was the same case prosecutors presented against Michael Ferrera, the same motive,
jealousy,
and the same evidence,
the ropes that came off the victim's body,
presented by the same witnesses, Marla Shiner, Detective Linda Coughlin, and once again, the state's star witness, Edward Allen Brown.
I heard one of them say, he's not breathing.
Was it any easier to sit through the second trial?
No, I want to say it was harder. Dad wasn't there for backup.
You were called a liar repeatedly.
Yes, I was.
Brown seemed less rattled this time, more confident, and the McCabes allowed themselves to hope.
I can keep my fingers, my toes, everything crossed.
During closing arguments, the defense called Brown a liar.
He'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
But the prosecution argued that Brown would never implicate himself in a crime he did not commit.
What did he confess for? He was talked into it?
The week-long trial went to the jury. This would be the McCabes' last chance to see someone held accountable for killing John.
We had faith that the jury was going to come with the right answer this time.
Finally, 2 days later, a verdict.
Person, has the jury agreed upon its verdict?
Yes, we have.
Pass the verdict slip forward, please.
Walter Shelley's wife and family waited nervously. Evelyn McCabe couldn't bring herself to even sit in the courtroom and had to wait outside.
She couldn't hear another not guilty.
May the verdicts be recorded, Your Honor.
She was scared she was going to drop dead.
Charging the defendant, Walter Shelley, with the offense of murder. What say, was the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty. Murder for
Guilty of what?
first degree.
Guilty and life behind bars for Walter Shelley. This jury believed Brown.
So when you heard guilty, do you remember the first thing you thought?
I thought my father would be proud. We got one of them.
It was the final twist in a mystery filled with them. For the same crime and on the same evidence, one man walked free, one man went to prison.
Hey, John, guess what? We got him. Billy, it turned out beautifully.
He didn't live to write about it, but Bill McCabe finally got the end he was looking for to the story he wrote about John's life and death. A story that took 4 decades to play out.
He was 15 years, 6 months, and 2 weeks.
About his boy, who will be 15 years, 6 months, and 2 weeks old forever.
Please, John. Please take good care of him until I get there. Please, and then I will.
CBS Next. A stepdaughter's trust betrayed.
She found naked photos of herself on her stepdad's computer. Hundreds. Hundreds.
Then Tom Merriman is found dead. Was it revenge?
Did you want your stepfather dead?
48 Hours Crime Time Double Feature continues next on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
There's nothing in this world that anybody can ever do to me that's gonna be worse than what I've seen.
I received a call from the sheriff's department that there had been a homicide. It was very devastating. There wasn't a lot of murders in Washington County. Everyone knew everyone. They all knew Michael. They all went to school with him. Everyone knew Rita.
I was really close to my mom. She was always at my football games, my baseball games. She's always had the camcorder out. She was recording me.
Come on, son.
This murder was as brutal as they come.
The first responders called this crime scene horrific.
There's blood all over the room. Some sort of object was used to hit Rita at least once.
Mike finds her body burning on the floor of her room.
I was scared to death. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know what to do. My name is Michael Politte, and when I was 14 years old, I was arrested for the murder of my mother.
Would either one of you ever think, and be honest with me, that he might hurt your mother?
No. I never thought he would hurt our mom, no. She was very close with Michael. You know, he was her baby.
Tell me about December 4th, 1998. Do you remember that evening?
Vividly. I was home, and then I see headlights coming down the driveway, and it's my mom. And she comes into the house, and she said, "I love you, good night, and I'll see you in the morning."
Is that the last thing your mom ever said
That's
to
the
you?
last thing she ever said to me. Next thing I remember, I woke up, and I see a light haze in my room. I opened my door, I could see her feet, and she was on fire from the waist up. And I could hear it.
What could you hear?
Cracking of the fire.
How soon did investigators focus on Michael?
Immediately.
Immediately.
He is a suspect from the moment they arrive at the scene. They said this kid didn't act the way they expected. He wasn't emotional enough.
You look like a pretty good suspect. You were a person who loved to set fires. You had had arguments with your mother. You were having trouble in school.
But none of that suggests anything about murder.
Were there any injuries on Michael, on your brother?
None.
Any blood found on him, on
No.
his clothing?
No.
And no weapon?
No.
Let me ask you a question. What 14-year-old kid could commit a crime that violent and that vicious and not leave any forensic evidence behind whatsoever? That's not possible.
Michael was convicted of murder in the second degree.
He was sentenced to life.
Michael, did you kill your mom?
No. And there's only one individual that I know that hates her that much to do that to her.
This is where the Politte family home once stood on December 5th, 1998, the day Michael Politte says he woke up to find his mother's body lying on her bedroom floor, on fire.
What I seen was hatred and evil.
He was 14 years old.
The individual that did that to my mother hated her with everything inside of him.
Rita Politte was just 40 when she died.
There's a lot of pictures of us and Mom.
All these years later, Michael's older sisters, Crystal and Melanie, still have vivid memories.
That's Crystal, that's Mom, and that's me. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about Rita?
Her laugh. She was always
Definitely.
laughing, smiling.
Michael and his sisters grew up in the tiny rural community of Hopewell, Missouri. It's about 70 miles southwest of St. Louis.
We didn't lock our doors. We lived by all of our family.
We rode bicycles and motorcycles. I was happy.
Michael went by the nickname Bernie back then.
His middle name is Bernard. It's short for Bernard.
Their parents, Edward and Rita, got married as teens, and Crystal and Melanie say the couple had their struggles.
He was very mentally abusive.
He also cheated on her.
A lot.
But she loved him. Love, it outweighed any other feeling she ever had.
Eventually, though, love wasn't enough.
I witnessed violence between the two of them.
There were allegations of domestic violence on both sides. The year before the murder, there was an incident where police were called. Michael told an officer that his dad pushed his mom to the floor and choked her. The couple ultimately divorced in the summer of 1998 after more than 20 years of marriage. The divorce decree cited Edward's infidelity.
My dad would try to pay me to come live with him. I wouldn't. I wanted to live with Mom.
Michael ended up having to split time between both parents. On December 4th, 1998, he was at his mom's. That night, she was out working at a local bar, and Michael was home alone.
Probably 7, 8 or so. I get bored. I ride my bicycle down to a general store.
It's there that Michael says he met up with his friend, 15-year-old Josh Sonsasi, who he invited to sleep over. The two hung out for hours until Michael's mom got home around midnight.
I asked him, I was like, man, where do you want to sleep at? You can sleep here in the living room on the fold-out couch, or you can just sleep in, in the floor of my room. He's like, I'll just crash on your floor.
Michael says he slept through the night until just before 6:30 a.m. when he and Josh awoke and noticed smoke in the room.
We ran out of the room. My mom's bedroom door is facing me, and I could see the glow, an orange glow in that area.
He says he called out to his mom, but there was no answer. Michael, what are you feeling at this point?
Panic, fear.
Michael says he went and grabbed a hose outside and then ran toward his mom's room. And what he saw, he'd never forget.
I seen blood on her legs, and she was on fire from the waist up. Now I turned the water hose on. I don't know how long I sat there. It could have been minutes, it could have been seconds, I don't know.
Josh ran to get help, but it was too late. Crystal would soon get a call from her brother with the news.
I just sat on my bed and I just kept saying, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. Because, then it's real.
Crystal picked Melanie up, and by the time they got to the scene, police cars and fire trucks were lining the driveway.
Mike was in the front seat, passenger side of the police car. And we just ran up to the window, asked him what happened. And he had soot on his face, and he had tear marks all down his face. And he said, I don't know, Mom's dead.
You could smell the smoke, you could smell flesh.
Tammy Nash worked for the Washington County Sheriff's Office back then and was one of the responding officers. It was clear that this was a murder. Rita had suffered blunt force trauma to the head, and blood was visible on her bedroom walls, indicating a struggle had occurred. A fire marshal quickly concluded that an accelerant was used to set her on fire.
What was your job at that point? What was your assignment?
To gather the evidence. We was looking for anything that she could have been struck with. We never found a weapon.
While Tammy processed the scene, Michael and Josh were taken away to the sheriff's office for questioning. A police report indicates that on the way, Michael asked an officer something that quickly put him under suspicion. He asked, "What's going to happen to my mom's truck?"
Isn't that an odd thing to say after you just saw your mother on fire?
I don't think so.
When you lose someone, you want to hang on to things. To me, that's all it was, and our mom loved that truck.
But it did raise eyebrows. And at the sheriff's office, Michael was given a voice stress test.
And then they told me that I failed.
Investigators also took Michael's shoes so that an accelerant-sniffing dog could examine them.
They said the dog alerted my shoes to an accelerant.
How would you describe the tone of the questioning after the dog's alerted on your shoes and after you failed this voice stress test?
They wasn't questioning me no more. They were telling me that I did something.
Michael and Josh both insisted they didn't know what happened to Rita, that they had stayed in Michael's room all night. But investigators told them they didn't believe them. The boys were questioned repeatedly. And 2 days after the murder, Josh gave a videotaped statement with an officer on each side and his mother present. That statement seemed to poke a hole in Michael's account. He said he woke up to a noise in the middle of the night.
I heard a little thud, and I thought I heard like a woman's voice.
Did Bernie wake up too, or did you see Bernie in the room at that time?
No.
Bernie wasn't in bed.
I didn't see him.
Could you have seen him if he was?
You let
Is that yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no doubt he wasn't in bed. Okay. And was he anywhere else in that bedroom?
No.
Shortly after Josh gave that statement on December 7, 1998, 14-year-old Michael Politte was arrested for his mother's murder.
I always believed that I was going to be found innocent because I didn't have anything to do with what happened to my mother. Oh, was I in for a rude awakening?
He looks like a really happy kid.
He was always really happy.
When Melanie and Crystal learned that their 14-year-old brother had been arrested for their mother's murder, they say they couldn't believe it.
How are they coming up with that conclusion? I just thought they were crazy.
He didn't do it, no one him cleared.
Chuck and Patsy Skiles are Michael's uncle and aunt. They live next door to where the crime took place. They also felt police had made a mistake.
You know, we was the first ones to see him after it happened. He had no scratches, no nothing on him.
He's always giving his mom a hug.
He loved his mom.
But while Michael's family believed in his innocence, the truth is, Michael was hardly the model child, something that even he admits.
You failed 7th grade 3 times?
Yeah, I was on my 3rd year because I became truant. I just wasn't going.
Skipping school was one thing, but 10 months before the murder, things got so bad that Michael was hospitalized for behavioral issues after he threatened to kill his mother and himself.
For whatever reason, I told her that I would put her 6 feet under just like her mom and dad.
Did you mean that, Michael?
No, I didn't. And it's the biggest regret of my life.
Melanie and Crystal blame Michael's misbehavior on their parents' divorce.
Our dad would kind of put him in the middle.
Michael was clearly an angry, troubled teenager.
Yeah, I think he was mad at our dad for sure.
Was he mad at your mom as well?
No, I know they didn't always get along perfectly. I don't think any parent and child does.
3 years passed with Michael in custody awaiting trial. And then the prosecution came to him with a deal. Plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter, and he'd spend a maximum of 15 years in prison.
I rejected it.
You didn't think about it?
Nope.
Why not?
Because I didn't murder my mother.
In January 2002, Michael Politte, then 17 years old, went on trial. His life was on the line. The prosecutors and defense attorney who tried the case didn't respond to our calls. But Josh Hedgecorth, the current prosecutor of Washington County, where the murder took place, was willing to talk about the case. What was the most important evidence?
The scientific evidence, and that would start with the shoes that he was wearing at the sheriff's office.
Not only had a dog detected an accelerant on Michael's shoes, according to the prosecution, later testing also confirmed the presence of gasoline on them. And there was testimony that an accelerant had been used to burn Rita's body.
And so all of these components together, I think, solidified that he must have set the fire.
But Michael had told police that gasoline found on his shoes meant nothing, and that he and his friends would often set fires for fun.
Well, we all did that. It was in the country.
In fact, Michael told police that just hours before the murder, he and his friend Josh used gasoline to set a fire on the railroad tracks near his house before Rita got home.
It does show the persistence with fire.
But the prosecution used that admission as another piece of evidence against Michael.
See the heavy charring in it.
They argued the burn pattern on the tracks matched the burn pattern on Rita.
See the outlets showing nothing electrical that could have caused the fire.
Linda Dickerson Bell and Jonathan Peterson were jurors on the case.
I'm like, it's not looking good for him.
What they were telling us was that Michael had a problem with burning and that he was the only person that could have done this.
The jurors never heard about Michael's problems at school and that threat to his mother, but a witness testified about a disagreement that Michael had with his mother weeks before the murder. It was over money, and he sat flicking a lighter afterwards.
It happened, but not in the way that the state portrayed it. I was flicking the wheel on the lighter. That's that.
You weren't threatening your mother with that?
No.
And there was something even more damaging. The prosecution claimed that Michael had actually confessed to the crime during a suicide attempt at a juvenile detention center exactly 1 month after the murder. 3 witnesses who worked there wrote in reports that Michael said, "I haven't cared since I killed my mom." But Michael says that's not what he said.
When they asked you why you were trying to kill yourself, you said what?
I haven't cared since they killed my mom.
It's the difference of one word, but that one word carried a lot of weight, and the jury would never hear from Michael because when it was the defense's turn, he didn't take the stand.
Today's date is the 7th day of December, 1998.
And leaving the jury with even more unanswered questions was the fact that they were told that Josh, the other boy in the house that night, had been granted immunity.
I kept waiting, thinking, okay, well, if he's been given immunity, then he's got to have something to offer.
But the jury never saw or heard from Josh at all. He wasn't called to the stand, and they were never shown his videotaped statement. Michael's sisters also weren't called.
But I never really heard anybody in his defense say Michael didn't do this.
Instead, the defense hinged its case on the lack of direct evidence. No murder weapon had been found, and despite the violence of the attack, Michael had no injuries and no blood on his clothing. After 3 days of testimony, the case went to the jury.
To hold someone's life in your hand, have you ever done that? It's not a pleasant thing to do. I wanted to get it right.
But Linda and Jonathan say they were left with so many questions, too many questions, and they felt pressured by other members of the jury.
I think everybody finally just got to me and was just like, you know, we're ready to go home. And then I was like, yeah, but you're ready to go home and this kid's ready to go to prison?
After more than 4 hours, the jury filed into the courtroom with their verdict: guilty of second-degree murder.
I wept.
Why?
Because it was wrong.
Michael was sentenced to life in prison.
It was unbelievable. I never thought it would happen.
Michael would spend years in a Missouri prison before a new team of lawyers would take his case and make it their mission to turn it around.
The state essentially never really had any case against this kid, but the case that they even did have back at trial has been indisputably proven false.
After Michael Politte was convicted and sentenced to life at the age of 18, he was sent to the Missouri State Penitentiary, once called the bloodiest 47 acres in America.
Being so young, I was a target. I got in a fight my first day there. Dudes were trying to rape me.
Michael says he became desperate for some sense of safety.
You became a skinhead?
Yeah, joined a gang.
That's where you got the tattoos?
Yeah. It was something that I felt like I needed to do to survive. It's not the way that I feel. It's not the way that Mom raised me. I just didn't fit in.
Michael says he longed to prove his innocence and get out of prison. He needed to hire a lawyer, so he says he asked his dad for help.
Did he?
Nope.
So how did you keep up any hope at all?
I didn't. For a few years, I was a heroin addict. Anytime I left my cell, I was looking for drugs. I was just self-medicating.
That's the way things were until Michael finally found something that gave him hope. 5 years after his conviction, he wrote a letter to the Midwest Innocence Project, and they agreed to take his case. The organization worked on it for years, and eventually attorneys Tricia Bushnell, Megan Crane, and Mark Emerson became involved.
Mike was convicted because he was a kid, pure and simple. They said he wasn't emotional enough. Trauma doesn't look like what people think it should look like.
Tricia, Megan, and Mark picked apart the case against Michael. They say it was based on bad science.
The breaker's tripped.
Starting with the prosecution's claim that an accelerant was used to set the fire that killed Rita.
When the fire investigator came to the scene, they immediately determined it was a fuel-fed fire based on just visual patterns, just based on looking at the scene, which at the time violated gold standards of fire investigation. There has to be lab testing.
Control sample taken there.
And lab testing was done on carpet samples from the crime scene. No accelerant was detected. The prosecution explained that away by saying it could have burned up. But defense attorney Megan Crane says that suggestion isn't reasonable.
There's no scientific basis for that being possible.
Do you believe that the jury believed that, in fact, there was an accelerant used to set Rita on fire?
Absolutely. The main case against Michael was that it was a gasoline fire. And in order to attempt to tie Mike to the crime, the only physical evidence was the gasoline that the state alleged was on his shoes.
But Michael's new lawyers say that Michael's shoes didn't have gasoline on them either.
Another footprint found.
They say a chemical used in the shoe manufacturing process was wrongly identified as gasoline at trial. And even the Missouri State Crime Lab agrees. In this 2020 letter, officials say it is now known that solvents found in footwear adhesives have similarities to gasoline, but that in the late 1990s, this knowledge was not widely known. Could the dogs have been alerting to the chemicals used in the shoes?
Absolutely.
The jurors cared about the gas on the shoes. They asked to see the shoes. It was the nail in the coffin.
But what about Michael's alleged confession at the juvenile detention center? Witnesses wrote that they heard him say, "I haven't cared since I killed my mom." But Michael insists he said, "I haven't cared since they killed my mom."
In the same way we talk about tunnel vision, people can hear what they want to hear. We're talking about one word in a room where there's lots of activity happening. They have a kid in the detention center that they believe has probably committed this crime, right? And so that's their view of him.
There is one big question that remains. What about Josh Sanssouci? Remember, the jury was told he got immunity. And there was that videotaped statement where he told police that he woke up in the middle of the night and Michael wasn't there.
So there's no doubt he wasn't in bed. Okay. And was he anywhere else in that bedroom?
No.
Now, many years after the crime, Josh is speaking publicly for the first time about what he says really happened that night.
I've spent the majority of my life just trying to forget about it. I've done pretty good just moving on with it. But I mean, it's always there, you know.
Josh Sanssouci is now 39 years old. He says he's never been quite the same since he woke up from that sleepover at Michael's at the age of 15 and found himself in the middle of a murder investigation. He says he was questioned by police repeatedly for hours at a time.
Every time I tell them something, they would be like, "No, that's not what happened. This is what happened." I remember telling my mom, I said, "They keep saying that I'm lying." I said, "I don't even know if I'm telling the truth anymore."
But the truth, Josh says, is that nothing out of the ordinary happened on that night in question.
It was just like a normal night.
I couldn't sleep very good at night. I was kind of waking up. I woke up one time.
But what about that videotaped statement where Josh told police that he woke up in the middle of the night and Michael wasn't there?
So there's no doubt he wasn't in bed. Okay. And was he anywhere else in that bedroom?
No.
I don't remember ever saying that. And I feel like if I said that, then it was maybe at a weak point or something.
Michael's attorneys say they've seen this all too often in interrogations.
What we see in Josh's interrogation is the result of hours and hours of interrogation. And every other time, he has never, ever said that that was what happened.
In a deposition right before Michael went on trial, Josh said that he never sat up from where he was sleeping on the floor and that it's not that I did not see him in his bed, it's I couldn't see him in his bed.
There's no way I could see anything that's on top of the bed.
So why did Josh take that immunity deal?
I just wanted it because I knew they was gonna try to pin it on me or Bernie. I was like, well, if they give me immunity, then maybe I don't have anything to worry about, you know?
Michael's lawyers say the prosecution was likely trying to get Josh to flip on Michael. And the fact they didn't even put Josh on the stand says it all.
They didn't call him because it wasn't going to go well for them. He had nothing helpful to say for the state.
Why didn't the defense call Josh?
That's a great question, Erin. And there's a lot of great questions about what the defense didn't do and who they didn't call.
Michael's trial attorney was a public defender back then. In a court affidavit, he admits that Michael's case was the first homicide case that he had tried on his own, and that today he would handle his representation of Michael differently. Michael's new legal team was committed to getting him out of prison. They filed court documents suggesting an alternative suspect, Michael's father, Edward Politte.
I believe he is responsible for what happened to my mother.
If that's true, that means Michael's own father stood by and let his son take the fall for a murder that he was behind. Michael's sisters say their father was furious over the financial terms of the divorce. A judge had finalized them just 4 days before the murder.
She got half of his retirement. Maintenance, child support,
He actually
alimony. And the one thing that I remember about growing up with our dad is you don't mess with his money. You just don't do it.
He had an outburst in the court that he said, "You'll never live to see a dime of that money."
Police did interview Edward Politte after the murder. He had an alibi. He was home more than 80 miles away at the time of the murder. But Michael's defense team says investigators didn't look hard enough.
They didn't at all investigate the possibility that perhaps Ed did this with someone else.
And Michael says he believes his dad did arrange the murder and had help.
I think he hired Johnny to murder my mother.
Johnny is Johnny Politte, Edward's cousin. Michael's legal team identified witnesses who placed Johnny near the crime scene on the morning of the murder, just as first responders were arriving.
Well, I'd heard sirens, and as I'm coming up the road and I'm approaching the railroad tracks, Johnny Politte was walking down the railroad tracks.
Larry Lee is one of those witnesses. He's known Johnny for years.
As he's walking up to my truck, he asked me if I heard about Rita. He said somebody killed her. And I'm like, dude, what?
About a week later, Larry's wife Carolyn says Johnny came to their door.
And it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. He said, "I need to know what you know about Rita's death." He said, "Me and Edward are doing our own investigation, and we heard you were up at the store talking about it." And I said, "Johnny, I don't know nothing." "No, we need to know what you know," he said. And I said, "You know, I think it's time for you to go."
Were you scared?
A little bit.
Did the two of you talk to investigators about this?
No. We think back now, and we wish we would have.
And I ain't saying he had anything to do with anything either. I don't know. But, you know.
Another man places Johnny Politte's truck near the same spot that Larry Lee says he ran into Johnny on the morning of the murder. In an affidavit filed by Michael's team, the man says he saw the truck just as emergency vehicles were coming down the road. Former investigator Tammy Nash says she doesn't remember hearing that Johnny Politte had been seen that morning, but she does recall something that happened in the days after the murder, once the crime scene had been released.
Somebody came in to the sheriff's department and said that they had found a tire iron or tire tool or something in the closet.
Whose closet?
Michael's closet.
Police records show the person who found that tire tool was Johnny Politte.
Could you have missed that in your first search?
No.
Are you absolutely sure?
I am positive. I did not miss that.
If it wasn't there when you searched, what does that mean?
That somebody placed it there.
Tammy went and retrieved the tire tool from Michael's closet. It was later ruled out as the murder weapon.
Do you believe that tire iron was put in your closet to set you up?
I do.
Johnny and Edward Politte didn't respond to our request for an interview. Neither has been charged in the case. It's been years since Michael and his sisters have spoken to their father, but they say they did ask him whether he had anything to do with their mother's murder, and he denied it.
It's not our job and it's not our focus to say who did commit this crime, but what we do know is it was not Michael Politte.
And while Michael's lawyers were trying to prove that, the case would take a turn.
Best day in the world.
I never thought this day would come.
It's amazing.
Take an in-depth look at the case at 48hours.
It's hard. It's real hard here in Missouri to get these convictions overturned. It's a battle.
I don't know why they don't want to have a hearing.
Michael's legal team was shut down by appeals courts at every turn.
It is a constant fight with, Goliath, really, is what it feels like.
Despite the letdowns, Michael and his sisters kept up hope that one day he would be freed. And in 2021, there was an unexpected development. A bill passed in Missouri giving juvenile offenders convicted of serious crimes a second chance.
It gave me an immediate parole hearing.
Michael went before the parole board asking for his release.
I told him I was innocent, and I told him this is why I'm innocent, and this is why you should believe I'm innocent.
It worked. On April 22nd, 2022, Melanie and Crystal brought friends and family
We're going in.
and a change of clothes to the Jefferson City Correctional Center.
It was a really great day.
It was a dream come true, really.
On that day, Michael Politte walked out of prison.
I love you. I love you.
Incarcerated at just 14 years old,
Oh, man, I love you guys, man.
he was now 38.
Where's my lawyers?
It was overwhelming to see all the love. And all the nights sitting in my cell wondering what it would be like to be out here and have this moment and have it finally come true. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's finally here.
I'm free.
How you doing? Can I have a hug?
Michael says he felt his mom's presence when a bird flew by overhead.
It's mine. Hey, Mom. She's always in my thoughts. She's always in my mind. And everything I do and everything that I process through the day is guided by her.
Michael left prison that day doing one of the things he enjoyed most before he went in.
We're going to take a bike ride from the parking lot to the railroad tracks. You ready to go, man? I'm ready. Well, I'm leaving here the same way that I came in here, riding a bicycle. Justice for Rita. Let's go. Let's go, man.
Felt good. It was the best bike ride in the world.
Welcome home, Mike.
This is it.
Welcome home.
Following his release, Michael moved in with his sister Melanie.
You ready?
Drum roll. Hey, Looney Tunes.
He started getting those reminders of prison, his tattoos, covered up with this new art. He also found a job as a carpenter and got his driver's license.
You're now out. Is that enough?
No, it ain't enough.
Because as you sit right now, you are a convicted felon on parole.
Yep.
You have a criminal record that says you killed your mother.
Yep.
Michael wants to clear his name, and it just might happen because Josh Hedgecorth, the current prosecutor in the county where the murder took place, has filed a motion asking for Michael's conviction to be overturned.
To me, it always comes back to the science.
Hedgecorth agrees with Michael's attorneys that the scientific evidence used to convict Michael is problematic.
So I don't believe that Michael received a fair trial. I can't say that the prosecutor at the time knew what he was putting on was false. It just shouldn't have been presented.
Could you retry Michael Politte for the murder of his mother, based on the evidence you have today?
On the evidence I have today, I don't believe I would file this case.
But while the local prosecutor believes Michael's conviction should be thrown out, another public official, Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt, is fighting it.
In every exoneration in Missouri, the Attorney General fights it because they say we have to respect, honor, and protect the verdict of these jurors. Well, that goes out the window when the jurors themselves want this verdict overturned.
In sworn affidavits, 5 jurors have questioned whether Michael got a fair trial, including Jonathan Peterson and Linda Dickerson Bell.
I do not believe that Michael Politte killed his mother, but I don't know how to fix it.
The Attorney General's office didn't reply to our request for comment, but in a court filing, they say that Michael cannot meet the standard for actual innocence. And the AG has argued that the evidence against Johnny and Edward Politte would have been inadmissible at trial.
There you go.
Michael hopes that a judge will hear the case and decide to overturn his conviction. But in the meantime, Prosecutor Josh Hedgecorth has revealed to us that the local sheriff's department has reopened the investigation into Rita's murder.
We want to do the right thing. If someone else did this, we want to know that. Even if it's new evidence that it was Michael.
Neither Hedgecorth nor the local sheriff would comment on the specifics of the investigation, including whether Johnny Politte or Edward Politte are persons of interest.
I feel bad for Bernie and his family. I mean, everything they had to go through. And Bernie lost his whole childhood.
Josh Sanssouci hasn't seen Michael Politte since they were kids, but they hope to one day reunite. The night of that sleepover and its aftermath has haunted Josh all these years.
What would you say to him?
I'm sorry. And that, he didn't do anything wrong.
In Potosi, Missouri, not far from where the murder took place, Rita's truck has sat all these years.
It's gonna need new tires.
So much smaller than I remember.
Her family says they held on to it because it's one of the only things they have left of her.
That's her truck. It's part of her. That belongs to her.
They hope to fix it up and get it running again.
We're gonna get justice for her. I believe that one day. We're gonna get justice for Rita.